How are you, beautiful soul? I pray that you're well. Last evening, I was hosting a Q&A coaching session for the Personal Branding Bootcamp. And there was a really great question about how to get more visibility for your articles and videos on LinkedIn. And there were several things that came up in our discussion, and I thought some of this may be useful for you as you're trying to grow a business or grow awareness for who you are and the services that you can provide. So one of the things that came up was one of our members has been sharing articles that they write on their website. And I've never seen any of them on LinkedIn. And so the question is, how often are you sharing one piece of content? And let's just talk first about blogs. So the first thing is, if you're posting a blog or an article on your own website, that is great because over time, you'll get traffic going there, you'll build up your search engine ranking. But for most people, you want to have a secondary place that you're sharing that content that has a greater volume of people. That could be posting that on LinkedIn, either a snippet or all of it, and then citing at the bottom that this was originally published on innatevitality.com, for example, for one of my pieces. In my case, I also will publish a blog or an article first on my site, and then I will share it over to medium.com or to Thrive Global, where I'm a contributor. There is a greater volume of people over on Thrive, on LinkedIn, and some of the other partner sites that I work with. Now, here's the challenge. Our social media feeds are full. And just because you post a great piece of content doesn't mean I'm going to be able to see it on the day that you post it or the week that you post it. So the example I gave during the bootcamp Q&A was, if you post something and it happened to be the week that my kid was sick, or that I was on vacation, or I was in the middle of a product launch, I may not have been on social media. And so I missed that epic blog post. That's a big deal. So what do you do? What you do is you start to share that article multiple times. Because if you're writing an article, for example, that's 1,000 to 1,500 words, chances are you've got 5, 10, maybe 15 little nuggets of content that your potential target audience would like to see. And so if you're writing an epic blog post or you've got a longer form piece of content like a podcast or a video on YouTube, draw out little tidbits from that content that you can then share on social media. So, for example, last night was almost an hour and a half in our Personal Branding Bootcamp. This is just one question that came up during that time, and I'm sharing a little snippet of it. And then what you can do is say, if you'd like more information, visit this link so that they can get the rest of that podcast, that video, or that blog. In my case, if you'd like more insights on how to build a brand, how to communicate your message with confidence, and how to reach your target market, you might consider joining the Authentic Personal Branding Bootcamp. So the link will be in this description. So in other words, don't just think that because you've said it once in a really great video or a really great post or interview, that's it. And that, people are going to just find it, because the reality is we won't. Most people are not going to find your content either in their feed or just doing a Google search unless you've got really high search engine ranking already, in which case you probably don't need my tips. So that's one thing for you to think about. And so bringing out those little tidbits means you're just going to highlight, give a little quote or a little context, and then link people back to the original source material. And if you think about it this way, ultimately, you probably have 5 or 10 things that you want to be known for. And so those 5, either areas of expertise or the types of problems that you solve or the specific niche markets that you represent, you want to have multiple pieces of content coming at multiple directions. Maybe you write a piece that's focused on eliminating pain in your target audience. Maybe there's another piece that you write about the outcomes, meaning the positive side of treating that problem. there are multiple ways that you can address each of your problems or the aspirations of your ideal client, and you should do it in multiple posts and multiple formats, and then sharing it multiple times across your social media platforms. Now, I know that sounds a little bit intensive, but it's a long game. You don't have to do it all in 1 week just because you've created a piece of content. You can be recycling that content over time. Because the reality is most people are going to need to see you and your content multiple times before they buy from you. And so it's a good idea for you to load them up with a lot of great high value content so that they can get to know who you are and feel your vibe and get a sense for your brilliance. And that way, when it comes time for them to need a service that you provide, you will be top of mind. And that way, you don't have to be salesy all the time. You're just sharing great insights and information. And every now and then, you will have these bigger, greater kind of pieces of content, whether it's a really great interview you did or a TED Talk or something like that. And even those, you'll want to recycle and pull out tidbits of them so that people can see that you've been featured in these great places and that you've been sharing this wisdom. So I hope this was insightful and helpful for you just to think about the volume that you need to be producing so that people can find you. This is a long game. Rather than trying to spend a bunch of money in marketing or advertising, if you focus on brand marketing instead, where you're just building up goodwill for who you are and what you stand for, it will pay out in dividends over time. And it also gives you the advantage of gaining experience in sharing your message. Rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to just put out one blog and it has to be perfect, if you're doing this on an ongoing basis, you're going to get better. You're going to see that people are responding and giving you feedback, so you can really tune in your messaging so that it's hitting the people where they need it most and in a format and tone that actually resonates with them. So again, if you'd like some support in building your brand or your content marketing strategy, check us out at makeyourmarkglobal.com, and I will put the link to our authentic personal branding bootcamp. The entire course is served up on a platter. Take it at your leisure, and every month you get live coaching from me. Hope to see you there.